Well, you probably not ever heard of Pork Chop Hill. Pork Chop was an outpost set way out in front of the line to keep the Chinese from marching and holding a lot of people through and going down to get sold. And, which made sense. But the Chinese, when we had outposts, one was Pork Chop, one was Old Baldy. Pork Chop Hill, there's a movie called Pork Chop Hill. And you ever hear of Gregory Peck? Well, Gregory Peck played my brother-in-law in the movie. And a guy named, what is that guy's name? God bless.
And who did the other guy play that you were trying to think of?
Me.
Oh, okay.
Now, they had already taken it a year before.
The Chinese or the Americans?
Americans took it. And the Chinese were trying to take it back. But, Korea was a weird war. It went up and down the peninsula so often. And we lost a lot of men in Korea. When I was sent up to Joe, the Chinese took over the hill. And Joe was sent up to retake it for us, for the U.S. And he got up there, and we're just barely hanging on. So he sent me up to reinforce it. And on the way up there, we got the full shelled out of it. The Chinese could see us coming down the road. And so I lost, as the book said, about 50% of my company in 8 hours.
Could you see the Chinese?
No. Well, I did when I finally got to the top of Pork Chop. Saw a couple, but I didn't really going down the road to reinforce Joe. We never did get all the hill. Anyway, they pulled me off late that afternoon. I was up there 8 hours. And pulled me off and left Joe up there, which didn't make sense because I had about 50 men left. And Joe had about 10, I think. It didn't make sense to leave me up there. Numerically, but they decided they didn't want the hill that much anyway, so they said, get off now. So you bet I got off now. I didn't want to stay up there, but if they were going to leave people up there, they should have left the right one.
Were y'all able to get the casualties off the hill?
Yeah, we had plenty of people that would carry strategies and stuff down to the personnel carriers that they could put on top of these personnel carriers. They should have been covered, but they weren't. But they were lucky if they were on a personal carrier because it went down too much faster than being on the ground walking or even running.
How much longer did Joe have to stay up there?
Next morning.
And did he have all of his 10 men left at that point?
Oh,
or?
no, he ended up with 3 total. Barely made it off. And thank God he didn't get killed because my sister would have killed me.
Were they already married at that point?
Yeah.
They wouldn't let brothers serve together, but were there any kind of rules against brother-in-laws?
No, they didn't care. They couldn't have cared less. I don't think. I'm not being bitter, I just don't think, that was that big a deal. Other than we weren't. It wasn't as if Miss Cecil was my sister. They should have been as worried about me as they were about Joe. We got attached to a different battalion than we were normally with. And that made it a little bit harder to operate. Because I wasn't used to this battalion commander, and I didn't know what he wanted and liked, and he didn't know me. And it was a mess. As I say, I lost about half my men. I didn't leave as many killed as it sounds like, because that's just how it worked out.
Were the Chinese pretty well dug in?
Oh, the whole hill was full of bunkers. And they had taken all the bunkers.
So did y'all have good artillery support?
Oh, Lord, you couldn't have asked me better artillery support than we had. Our artillery had these variable time fuses, which meant that they would go down and hit the ground, and a wave would bounce back up and explode them, and the Chinese weren't in all bunkers yet. They got a bunch of them. And they didn't have that kind. Their artillery was very heavy. But it wasn't variable fuse, fortunately. Well, it's a fuse in the nose of the artillery shell, but a little radar thing that, because when it hits the ground, when the ground is a certain, went down to about 25, 30 feet, it goes off. If they're not in the bunker, somebody get a bunch of them. And they didn't have any of those. And it might have been fair, but I think couldn't last. We held at that time. I was in April of 53. But the Chinese came back and took it in July, and they lost just a heck of a lot of people.
The Chinese?
Yeah.
Well, did y'all have any air support during that time?
But it's so close in with all the bunkers and everything that you can't use it as much as you'd like. It's not like they're out on the road or something. So to get air support close in was abnormal because it was so close. You didn't want them bombing anyway because it might hit you. So I got mine a Purple Heart. That was my first Purple Heart.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, we were coming off, rounding off and hit me over here in the hip and knocked me down. I was lucky that that's all it was. I didn't even go to aid station, but the colonel of the battalion commander asked me the next day, he said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Yes, sir." I said, "I got one little scratch. Came off the hill, got knocked down by our artillery shell. And you've got to go to the battalion aid station." So he told me to go, so I went, and that's where they got me. I wouldn't have gone otherwise.
You got a Silver Star.
Mm-hmm.
What was that for? Which action was that for?
Pork chop.
For leading that?
For getting the company up on the hill. For anybody with any sense could probably have stopped and gone back and taken cover. But my brother-in-law was up on the hill, my best friend. If I'd run off and left him, my sister, which I didn't, eventually, with the direct order, but my sister would have killed me, I'm sure.
Did Joe receive a commendation for his action there?
Well, he got a Silver Star, too. But he got a DSC, the Distinguished Service Cross, for earlier. I got, when I was in my first few months in Korea, they sent us down to Jeju Island, they call it, where they were guarding Chinese prisoners. And we went down there and guarded prisoners for 2 months. That was a mess. They had surrendered, but they hadn't given up. Somehow they make red dye, make their red flag, and then hang them out the window of their little huts and stuff. We'd have to make them take them down. There was something else. And we were ordered to beat him up, which I couldn't hardly believe. But my men didn't mind a bit. They're just arrogant little bastards. Pardon the language. But they were good soldiers. I said, well, they got in a place and stayed there. We put our people in and rotated them in about 6 months or so. Or less, a bit less.